Right. So we need to talk about the business documents. And as I was saying, there are two types of business documents. One is a business case, and the other one is your benefit management plan. Let us first talk about the business case, and this is more important to talk about. Benefits management plan is also good, but business case is the basic foundation. So the process of defining the business need, analyzing the situation, making recommendations, and defining evaluation criteria is applicable to any organization's project. So wherever there are projects, every project must have a business case, and behind every business case is always a business need. So when you set out to create a business case, first define the business need. Why are you doing it? What is the requirement? Why do you need to do this? Then analyze the situation and give the alternatives and make your recommendations, and ultimately also define that how this project, if started, how can we evaluate it. The evaluation criteria should also be defined. This is the business case. Let us go a little deep into the business case and see what all are the ingredients of your business case. As already outlined, the first part is a business need itself. Then is the analysis of the situation. Then is the recommendations. And then is the evaluation. There are four parts need to have. Well, as far as the format is concerned, PMI is not recommending any format. It is just giving you four important headings to cater for. You may have your own format created based on this, or you could have your own format within your organization. Whatever is in vogue, maybe that is different than this. But at least if you want to improve it, if you feel that any one of these headings given here are not included in your format, you may consider adding that thing there. And you can have as many things, you may have 10 headings there, but here we are talking about the four most important things. There must be a business need. So what do we do with the business need? First, determine. This is the determination of what is prompting the need for action. Why do we want this change? Why do we need to do it? Why have we been activated to take the action? What was the problem? What was the prompting behind it? Situational statement, documenting the business problem or opportunity to be addressed, including the value to be delivered to the organization. So, as I said before, every time you try to bring a change into an organization, that is all prompted through something, some problem or an opportunity. And even problems, if you try to solve them, because there's a problem, you have got hindrances, and if you resolve the problem, the hindrance will be removed and you will be benefited. So in a way, every problem has a hidden opportunity in it. Every problem is an opportunity. But those opportunities which are already an opportunity, and there is, there is a sale on a shop, that why should I not benefit from it? So if at all there is an opportunity, then naturally I would like to be part of that advantage. So document the business problem or opportunity to be addressed, including the value to be delivered to the organization. What does it bring to my organization? How much value? Maybe you feel that the value it is bringing to the organization is not sufficient, and therefore you decide not to go for it. Identification of stakeholders affected. So that is the point when this benefit is going to come, this opportunity is going to bring some kind of ultimate benefit. Who are the people who are going to be affected by it? And also try to identify the overall scope. So far, there is no project existing, but whatever this business need is, what is the scope of this whole game show? When we talk about the analysis of the situation, identification of organizational strategies, goals, and objectives, that is exactly with what we will compare our project objectives, our project goals. So our project has to be aligned with that. Therefore, we must provide in our analysis the identification of the specific organizational goals objectives which are going to be satisfied due to this work. Identification of root cause of the problem are main contributors of an opportunity. Whether it is a problem or opportunity, what prompted it? From where did it come? Gap analysis of capabilities needed for the project versus existing capabilities of the organization. Where we are today and where we want to be. So how much advantage can we get? How much capability can we add to our existing capability by adopting this change? So we compare two statuses, the status as is status and the to be status. So the transition will actually happen between as is and to be. Identification of known risks. Naturally, even at this stage, so what is the biggest risk? What are the main risks in this initiative, what we intend taking? So I'm not talking about the project risks right now. I'm talking about the very, very high level risks. What will happen to us if we try to do this job? Identification of critical success factors. This is to determine how will we judge that we have achieved the target we have set out to achieve. So critical success factors are the indications that I have achieved this much, and this much, and now this much indicates that I have achieved all. Identification of decision criteria by which the various courses of actions may be assessed. So how would I make the decision? What is the decision criteria? What all conditions should be fulfilled as to make our decision a genuine decision? So this is the analysis. And within the analysis, the next heading is identification of decision criteria, which I was just talking about. The examples of criteria could be required, desired, and optional. What are the required criteria to be fulfilled to address the problem? That is mandatory. Required is something mandatory. Desired is something we may like to have it, and optional is we may not have it. If it is there, good enough. If it is not there, we don't care. But desired, we do care. We do like to have this capability, but it is not mandatory. Then is the identification of set of options. What are the various options open to us to be considered addressing the business problem or opportunity? Options are alternative courses of action that may be taken by the organization. If I don't take up this opportunity, then what else can I do? Options may also be described as business scenarios. So you can paint a complete business scenario. What if this happens, then I will do this, and what if that happens, then I will do this, and whatever. So this is the identification of various sets of options and role playing with it. This includes certain actions like if you have got a scenario, you may decide to do nothing about it because it is not feasible. You may do the minimum work possible to address the problem or opportunity. Minimum may be established by identifying the set of documented criteria that are key in addressing the problem or opportunity. Or do more than minimum work possible to address the problem and opportunity. This option meets the minimum set of criteria and some or all of their other documented criteria. There may be more than one of these options documented in the business case. So this all depends which what action is to be taken on each one of the options, right? So that will also help you prioritize your options. Then business case may include, but is not limited to, the documenting the recommendations, which could be a statement of the recommended option. Out of the various options we have suggested already, which is the best option? So give a statement about that recommended option. Items to include in the statement may include, but are not limited to. Analysis results should be, briefly portrayed there. If there are any constraints, assumptions, risks, or dependencies, again, I won't say that you write a thesis on it, You just provide very high level constraints, assumptions, and risks, etc. Um, just to give an indication what those things are. And success measures, which means that how the success is to be measured. An implementation approach may include, but is not limited to, the milestone. Now, even we have not yet started the project. Project has yet not been approved, but still at this stage, we are talking about if this approach is selected, if this is my implementation approach, what will be my major milestones? What will be my major dependencies and major roles and responsibilities? Remember, this business case is created when project is not yet approved, feasibility is not yet approved. So you are just suggesting, you are just recommending that if you take this approach, these could be the milestones, these are our dependencies, and these are our roles and responsibilities, and so on and so forth. A business case may include, but not limited to, the documenting the following. For example, evaluations. Evaluation statement describing the plan for measuring benefits the project will deliver. Now we are talking about measuring benefits. That means we are focusing on getting some benefits realized as a result of this work. So that is something which I have already talked with you about. Benefits could be realized even after the project has been closed. So this should include any ongoing operational aspects of the recommended option beyond initial implementation. The business case document provides the basis to measure success and progress throughout the project lifecycle by comparing the result with the objective and the identified success criteria. So where we are, where we want to be. So this is more of a subject of business analysis. You see, you remember when I was telling you this, I said this is not the job of a project manager. Business case is not to be developed by a project manager. This is the job of basically a business analyst. But
Right.
naturally, the feasibility thing is somehow done by the project sponsor. Yes, please.
I was just saying that I remember when you mentioned it last time, the role of the business analyst.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was just acknowledging when you said that. Yeah, I remember all those details. Yes.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, as far as the business case document provides the basis to measure success and progress throughout the project lifecycle by comparing the results with the objectives and the identified success criteria. And for that, please consult business analysis for practitioner, a practice guide. So here, in the previous one, it has um, referred you again to the business analysis and practitioner, a practice guide. And again, we have got the same reference. So this is your option. I'm not forcing you to read these books. But if at all you, for practical purposes only, not only for PMP exam, for practical purposes, I would very, very strongly recommend that whether you are a PMP or you are not, you should somehow at some stage you must read these books and understand how can I fix the problem. I tell you, I can assure you that you will find many important guidelines out of it, and you can improve your way of working all the way.
Right.
Yes.
One question here. This certification for business analyst,
Mm-hmm.
PMP is a prerequisite for this, or you can do these in isolation as well?
No, they are different. They are isolated. None of the certifications, PMI certifications, are dependent on others. You can, if you are
Even
experienced enough, you can directly
even.
go for program management certification also.
Okay. Right. Right.
So there is no dependency that you have to be a PMP to do this or that. No, nothing at all. You immediately want to go for a business analysis certificate, go ahead with it. But if you have knowledge of both business analysis and project management, you are in a very strong footing. You can handle all kinds
Okay.
of circumstances. You see, if you want to even further enhance your perspective and you have more experience, maybe, like you say, you have got about 15 years of experience, probably from my point of view, you maybe qualified enough to go for a program management certification. But naturally, I will not suggest you to go directly for that. Do your PMP and plan yourself where you want to go. This is your personal enhancement and improvement. Your organization
Right.
will not acknowledge what you are doing, but your personal wisdom will increase and your personal way of working will benefit you. Maybe you are not sticking on with the same organization, you want to go for even a better organization and you will be paid better for that. I don't know if you think, look at it from the payment point of view or learning point of view. There are two different kinds of people. One people type of people I know who say, okay, what is the need of studying more because I am already getting this much salary. Well, if salary is the issue, then probably you may have different thinking. But if enhancement to your knowledge and you know that is the point, the wisdom you want to increase, then probably you must make it a habit to keep reading and learning more.
Understood.
Second project document is the project benefits management plan. Uh, this is not exactly the realization plan. There is another thing which is called benefit realization plan. Uh, that is not part of this PMBOK. That is normally a business analyst job to create a benefit realization plan. Or for that matter, in program management, we have the benefit realization plan. But benefit management plan is generally describing how the benefits can be managed on this project. Generally, general guideline on how the benefits can be managed on this project. The project benefit management plan is the document that describes how and when the benefits of the project will be delivered and describes the mechanism that should be in place to measure these benefits. The project benefit is defined as an outcome of actions, behaviors, product, service, or result that provide value to the sponsoring organization as well as to the project's intended beneficiaries. Project intended beneficiaries are the stakeholders. How are they going to be benefited? How organization is going to, yield this, translate this output of this project into the outcome? How the benefits are realized, in other words, how the benefits are to be realized. Development of the benefit management plan begins early in the project life cycle with the definition of the target benefits to be realized. So probably this is beyond the project management plan. Benefit management plan or benefit realization plan are to be created separately and they are to be followed even after the project has delivered its product, service, or result. But naturally, product, service, or result is a journey towards the ultimate benefit. The benefit management plan describes key elements of the benefits and may include, but is not limited to, the documenting following. When it says not limited, it automatically says that this is the minimum number of headings I'm suggesting, but you can add more. You can tailor it according to your requirement. And this is not a format at all. It is just a brief description. So, for a benefit management plan, give you the target benefit, where you want to go, how it is aligned with the strategy, how the time frame in which this benefit has to be realized, who are the owners of the benefits, how it is to be measured, metrics, and what are the assumptions, what are the major risks. Again, high level risks and assumptions are going to be there in the benefit management plan as well. As far as the target benefits are concerned, the expected tangible and intangible value to be gained by the implementation of the project. This could be in the terms of financial value or otherwise. Tangible or intangible, doesn't matter. So, how, if you remember, we did talk about the business value. What is your business value today and what you want it to be after, say, 2 years or 5 years? So, how will you get there? How are you going to increase the business value? So this is your target benefit, that we want our business to be of double the worth by 5 years. Strategic alignment. How well the project benefits align to the business strategies of the organization. So we are aligned with the organization's strategy. How are we going to be doing that? Time frame. Um, now this is interesting that, well, if I have to achieve this target in 5 years, what are my short-term, long-term objective? That is 5 years naturally. And what are my short-term objective? Maybe yearly objective is my short-term objective. But it all depends on the size of the project and time frame. Who is the owner of the benefit? The accountable person to monitor, record, and report realized benefits throughout the time frame established in the plan. Remember, this person cannot be the project manager, because project manager is no more going to be there when the main benefits are going to be realized. I do agree and understand that while the project is being done, some of the benefits may get realized, but most of the benefits will get realized after the project is delivered. The product, service, or result are delivered. And somebody should take on the responsibility for the life of the benefit, not the life of the project. And there must be a mechanism to measure. How are you going to measure how much benefit has been achieved, or how much value has been increased? The measure to be used to show benefit realized, direct measure and indirect. Assumptions like factors expected to be in place are be in evidence, which I assume that these things will be favorable and these things will be present. These are my assumptions. But if these assumptions change, everything will be disturbed by that. My plan can be disturbed by that. Risks, if I can conceive any, what are the risks which to my realization of these benefits, what I'm thinking. So how and why, what can happen which will not let me achieve those benefits. Developing the benefit management plan makes use of the data and information documented in the business case and needs assessment. We have already done that. We did the business case and needs assessment. So all that information is the basis for the benefit management plan. For example, the cost benefit analysis recorded in the documents illustrate the estimate of costs compared to the value of the benefits realized by the project. So I can translate that into benefit realization. How much is the estimate of the cost, or how much the value I want to bring. Benefit management plan and the project management plan include a description of how the business value resulting from the project becomes part of the organization's ongoing operations. So even in project management plan, I do mention how organization is going to benefit. So benefit management plan may be referred in the project management plan. The metrics provide verification of the business value and validation of the project success. Development and maintenance of the project benefits management plan is an iterative activity, and it will go on. We will keep revising the benefits management plan as we move ahead. This document complements the business case, project charter, and project management plan. So all these things may be existing, but your benefit management plan is being revised over time as the project is going on, as the progressive elaboration is happening. New things are we are learning. So ultimately, I am also revising the benefit management plan according to that. Project managers work with the sponsor to ensure that the project charter, project plan, benefit management plan remain in alignment throughout the life cycle. So you see, business analysis practitioner standard and the business analysis guide, portfolio program, they all have to be somehow referred alongside the PMBOK. So these standards must be referred to. Then comes the project charter, third important thing. We have talked about the business document, now we're talking about the charter. Chartered is as defined as a document issued by the project sponsor. So I'm not saying that. PMI is saying that in the PMBOK guide. So if somebody differs with you, show him this sentence. Project sponsor is the author, is the responsible person that formally authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. So this is the basis. Project management plan is defined as the document that describes how the project will be executed, monitored, and controlled. Remember, management plan means how to manage the project. So this will just give you the guideline how to manage the project, how to execute it, how to monitor it, how to control it. But it does not, it may not include the little details like what are the activities, who are the people working on it. This may not be known at this stage, but later when we go through the development of specific estimates and everything, then these information become available and they become part of the baselines which we are going to be executing. But project management plan itself is just a guideline telling you how to do certain things. Project integration management, for information on the project charter and the project management plan. We have to see section 4 for that, and so that describes how the project charter is developed. One of the most common challenges in project management is this is the project success measures. This is the fourth heading. One of the most common challenges in project management is determining whether or not a project is successful. How would you know that project has succeeded? You see, you say this is the product expected. If this product is created and accepted, this is one indicator that project is successful. Or when these much benefits have been created and there's a clear indication of achieving those benefits, this is an indication that project will be successful. Traditionally, management metrics of time, cost, scope, and quality have been the most important factors in defining the success of a project. That is exactly why we are giving so much, importance to the scope, time, and cost, and up to some extent the quality, because they specifically describe that this project must be completed in this much time, this much cost, this much scope, and of this quality. More recently, practitioners and scholars have determined that project success should also be measured with consideration toward achievement of the project objectives. So, success is related to the achievement of your project objectives. So, it can be measured against the achievement of objectives. Project stakeholders are also key players, and I have to keep them abreast about everything, and they are part of this success. They may have different ideas as to what the successful completion of a project will look like, and which factors are the most important. So it will differ from stakeholder to stakeholder. One stakeholder, a bank manager, is probably looking at the financial worth of this project. Another person who is from some other area of specialization, maybe he's a doctor, he would say how much my professional I get the professional benefit out of this project. So everyone looks at it from their own perspective. That is exactly why I need to understand the needs and expectations of each and every stakeholder. If I am not catering for all the stakeholders, then probably there will be a gap, and maybe that stakeholder creates such a problem that whole of your plan goes for a standstill. It is critical to clearly document the project objectives and to select objectives that are measurable. This is important at this stage, that if you can, uh, give out very clear, measurable objectives, then the achievement of those objectives is made even more possible. Three questions that a key stakeholder and the project manager should ask. Number one, what does success look like for this project? That is just because of the different perspectives a stakeholder may have. So, for the same project, one stakeholder may have a different opinion, other may have a different opinion, or the answers to these questions may be different from different stakeholders. So, what does the success look like for this project? For someone, the success of project, it is enough to be working hard to show that success has been achieved. Another stakeholder may understand that the delivery of success is the realization of the ultimate benefit, and so on and so forth. Next question is, how will success be measured? How would you know that this much success has been achieved? What factors may impact the success? The answer to these questions should be documented and agreed upon by the key stakeholders and the project manager. Project success may include additional criteria linked to the organizational strategy and to the delivery of business results. These project objectives may include completing the project benefit management plan. Number one is the project benefits management plan. Then meeting the agreed upon financial measures documented in the business case. Those financial measures may include but are not limited to, uh, we will study this in a little bit more detail later. Net present value, return on investment, internal rate of return, payback period, cost benefit ratio. So all of these methods we'll study when we'll be doing the cost benefit analysis. Then is meeting business case non-financial objectives. There are other objectives which are non-financial in nature. So are they being met? Maybe this project enhances the interest of people in working for technology. Completing movement of an organization from its current state to the desired future state. So that could be a big indicator, a big measure that we have achieved what we focused for, and therefore the project is successful. So you must define success. Fulfilling contract terms and conditions. If you are under contract from somebody, so if you have fulfilled all the terms and conditions of the contract, the project is complete. Meeting organizational strategy, goals and objectives. This could mean your job is done. Achieving stakeholder satisfaction. Keeping all the stakeholders satisfied is very important to a project manager. Acceptable customer and user adoption. Integration of deliveries into the organization's operating environment. Achieving agreed upon quality of delivery. Meeting governance criteria. Now, governance is something big. So, one thing was strategic alignment, and one thing is governance. Governance is the specific orders this organization has given to get this job done. Meeting governance criteria, after that, we have achieving other agreed upon success measures or criteria, which could be about process throughput, like process throughput. Project team needs to be able to assess the project situation, balance the demand, and maintain proactive communication with stakeholders in order to deliver a successful project. So when a business alignment for a project is constant, the chance for project success greatly increases because the project remains aligned with the strategic direction of the organization. So if the alignment is there, then everything is okay. It is possible for a project to be successful from a scope, schedule, and budget viewpoint, and to be unsuccessful from a business viewpoint. If it is not adding any value to the business, just going through the chores of scope, meeting the scope and time and cost may not be sufficient. This can occur when there is change in the business needs or in the market environment before the project is completed. So this brings me to the end of the first chapter, and if you have any questions about it, we can answer that and then we can move ahead.
Yes. One question about the very last point you mentioned here, that in certain cases it might be the case that cost, value, and the time, cost, and scope is all of it is managed, but still it doesn't meet the business targets of the organization. Can you kindly explain a bit more detail? Does it mean that the way the project was conceived was not the correct one? Because otherwise, if you are meeting your targets and it is finished in terms of scope and cost, it is managed in that respect, it should add some business value to the company, right?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sometimes we are doing things which are in alignment with the strategy. You see, strategy is not about, always about earning money. there are many strategies in the organization, but this specific strategy is maybe to gain popularity in public. You see, and for example, your organization, Nokia Siemens, they are just doing some public service kind of a thing to be more visible in the market. So maybe in long run there is a business benefit out of it, but for the time being they are just spending money. So there,
Right.
this strategy is not for earning money. This strategy is not for increasing
Right.
the business value. Maybe this is just for charity. That's for just for something else.
Right.
But no matter what the strategy is, we must also consider what business value does this project bring to us. Remember, I have mentioned in the very beginning, there are three things you have to check when you start a project. Number one, the strategic alignment. Number two, the customer and stakeholder needs and expectations. And number three is the business value. But I do agree
Right.
that some projects may not fulfill the requirement of business value because they are not meant for that. But we very
Right.
much desire that if not much, but to a lower level, some business value must be increased by this project. It should not, uh, you know, maintain the status quo.
Right.
So, should we move on to the next?
Yes, please.
Okay, next presentation is about the enterprise environmental factors and environmental factors in project. The environment in which the project operate. So, what is the environment in which a project operate? Actually, to be brief, there are two things which I have already mentioned when I was explaining the interaction of various processes. One is the enterprise environmental factor, EEF. Enterprise environmental factors originate from the environments outside of the project and often outside of the enterprise. These may have an impact on the organization, portfolio, program, or project level. But all the enterprise environmental factors are not necessarily external. There might be enterprise environmental factors which are internal to the organization. But one thing is sure that enterprise environmental factors are not documents. They are factors. Like it is too cold, that is a factor, and therefore I need to wear warm clothing. Or there is a new law announced by the government, and due to that we have to change our way of working, or the raw material we are getting is to be you know go through a stringent check and maybe will cost more to me. So enterprise environmental factors are those factors which affect my project in any way. They could be inside or outside. Outside are normally more often used because they are unknown factors which affect my project and they are not in my control. Internal factors are which are imposed by the organization itself. My organization has a specific culture, has a specific style of working, which is a hindrance for project management. So that means my internal factors are impacting uh, the wo- the way we work. The way we work is impacting the project. Then the second thing is organizational process assets. These are purely internal to the organization, all of them. These may arise from the organization itself. Yes, Rhoda. Okay, so I was talking about organizational process assets. Um, I believe organizational process assets are necessarily documented rules, regulations, policies, and procedures. So we are supposed to be following them, and they are written documentation, and they are created by the organization. These may arise from the organization itself naturally. Maybe if you are under a portfolio or a program, or your organization may be giving you these rules and regulations.
So it's one question here.
Really.
These enterprise environmental factors, I mean, they will have an overlap with what we call risks as well, right? So how do we differentiate these two things?
Can you repeat the question?
These enterprise environmental factors, as you defined, to me, it seems that they also overlap with what we call risks in the project. So how do we differentiate between these EEFs and the project risks?
Okay. Actually, these are not exactly the risks, but they are the sources of risks. External
Okay,
factors, government policies is an enterprise environmental factor, external enterprise environmental factor in which a government policy may affect us. Now, which government policy may affect us, that is a risk. And same
right,
true for internal. Got it?
right, understood.
So, the things which can influence your project, as I said, there are two things. One are the EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, and other are OPAs, organizational process assets. EEFs are external as well as internal, so they must be treated accordingly because external enterprise environmental factors would be, I would not have any control on them. They're outside of the organization. Internal are like, my own organization is having certain practices, certain way of working, which may be harmful to the project, and I can or somebody can advise them, and they can improve that. They can change their culture. They can, way of working, the timings, hours of working, and all that can be revised. This is internal to the organization. They can fix it, and that will naturally impact the project. Then are the OPAs, organizational processes. They are always internal, and they are comprised of two kinds of things. Number one are the written rules, regulations, policies, and procedures, which we are bound to follow. We can't change them. I'm sitting in a project, and I am bound by certain rules and regulations, and I have no power by myself to change those rules and regulations. I am just to follow. So this is kind of a read-only kind of a thing where I am supposed to read it but can't change it. So I am supposed to follow those policies and procedures and rules and regulations and all that, and I can't change them. On the other hand, uh, while I am doing my project, uh, I will create a lot of knowledge, a lot of data, and a lot of knowledge. And that knowledge could be helpful for future projects to come. So I am basically creating a corporate knowledge base. And similarly, the projects which were done earlier than me have also created a corporate knowledge base and a complete bank of old documents, um, templates, forms, field forms, uh, risk registers, lessons learned, historical information, and all this is available in the organization. I can benefit from that, or for that matter, I can contribute from my project a huge knowledge base into that archive. So this is called organizational process assets. In addition to enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets, organizational systems play a significant role in the life cycle of the project. Organizational systems, how the organization works. What is the system of the organization? System factors that impact the power, influence, interests, competencies, and political capabilities of the people to act with the organizational system are discussed further in the section on organizational systems. So, organizational systems would be discussed later in the 2.4 heading. Right now, we are on 2.1, and now this is 2.2. So, in 2.2, we'll talk about enterprise environmental factors. 2.3, we'll talk about organizational process assets, and 2.4, we'll talk about organizational systems. Coming over to the enterprise environmental factors, they refer to conditions not under the control of the project team. Project team is not controlling the situation. That influence, constraint, or direct the project. Now, project will be influenced if project is influenced by something, anything, internally or externally. This is the enterprise environmental factor. If they can put a constraint on the project that you cannot move, you cannot. You see, government has announced that uh, all the work on this kind of projects must finish by 31st of December, countrywide. Maybe after 31st December, the weather conditions are going to change or something. So by 31st of December, all projects must complete. Now, you are bound to complete it within that time frame. These conditions may be internal or external. As I said, enterprise environmental factors are considered as input. Now, if you remember when I was explaining the inputs and outputs, I said the enterprise environmental factors and organizational processes both are going to be input into almost all the 49 processes. Almost all of them. Why I'm saying some of them do not, only some of them may not require either both or one of them. Some processes do not require enterprise environmental factors. Some processes do not require organization process assets. But most of the processes require them both. Therefore, you don't have to confuse yourself on it. You don't have to remember this, but just remember that EEFs and OPAs are input to almost all the processes of the project management. If at all you come across a specific process which does not show EEF, it is very easy to find a reason. After you understand that process, you would know why EEF is not being input into it. These factors may enhance or constrain project management options. Now, you see, the factors could be positive or even negative. If these factors are positive, they can benefit you or they can restrict you. These factors may have positive or negative influence naturally on your outcome. They vary widely in type or nature. These factors need to be considered if the project is to be effective. You can't ignore them because they are going to impact, and if you did not plan for it, then probably you will be at more risk. They include but are not limited to what? These items. These are all the enterprise environmental factors. Organizational culture, organizational structure, and the governance mechanism of your organization. These all are what? Internal or external?
These are internal.
Internal, of course. And geographic distribution of facilities and resources. Internal or
Yeah,
external?
this will be external.
Well, if it is our own resources and our own facilities, then it is internal. If you have offices
Uh,
in various
Yes,
parts.
but I mean the nature of the scope will determine, I mean, how big the geographical area is, and that would somehow impact you. I mean, if there's a project all over Pakistan, so it would be something like an input to the project, right?
Yeah, of course. But you see, this is the internal decision. This is the organization's decision to open offices all over the world, right? So,
Right, right,
world has not imposed any problem on you, but you have yourself spread out, and therefore this is your internal matter. But
right,
if
right,
if the geographic location is causing a problem onto a facility, that is an external problem. But here it doesn't
right.
say the location; it says the geographic distribution.
Hmm.
Therefore, it is internal. Your infrastructure
Right.
again internal. Information technology, software, resource availability, employee
Hmm.
capability. Most of them, all of them are rather internal to the organization.
Internal, yes.
Then organizational culture, structure, and governance could be explained through these points. See, your organization has a vision. Your organization has a vision, mission, values, beliefs. So you have some cultural norms, leadership style, hierarchy, authority relationship, organizational style, ethics, code of conduct. All of these things are either restricting or enhancing your project's capabilities. So your project is directly impacted. You see, if you are trying to keep your project aligned with the organizational strategy, then naturally uh, you are aligned with the vision, mission, values, beliefs. At least you are aligned with all these things. So that much is resolved. Organizational style, if your organizational style is such which is conducive for the project, then it is good. If it is not conducive, then it is going to harm the project. Similarly, ethics and all of these things are internal factors and they are impacting. Similarly, the geographic distribution, you know, your factory locations, your virtual teams, shared systems, cloud computing, these all are you're spreading out across borders. Infrastructure, your existing facilities, your equipment, telecommunication channels, IT, hardware, availability, capacity, all of this defines your infrastructure. IT software, whatever scheduling software tools you are using, configuration management you are doing, web interfaces you have for automated systems, and work authorization system. Well, each of these headings is important and that can be discussed. But work authorization system is unique. This is how work in your organization gets done. I agree that work has been designed, it has been planned, somebody has assigned it to someone, somebody is doing it. But how do you monitor it? You can only monitor it if you have correct information when this work was initiated, when the person responsible for doing this job actually started working on it, and when he actually stopped working on it. So there must be a report, there must be a system which would monitor, which would record the authorization of the work. Although I have assigned this work to you, but when you start the work, it is your responsibility to intimate me that this work is now started or it has now finished. And if I have provided you a format, you may have to fill in that format and seek written permission from me that, sir, if is it okay if I can start this work now? So when I say I give you the permission, I will record this time as the start of this activity. And this is a very useful mechanism. This is not exactly for projects. This is used in operations normally. Work authorization system. Like you see, in factories, uh, the factory workers, when they get into the factory space, they get their attendance marked on what do you call it, time chart system, time card system. So they punch their card, and that would record what time of the day this person entered the factory. And when he gets out, he again get his card punched, and that way his time of coming and going can be recorded. So the organization can know how much time this person spent in the factory and how much did he perform and should he perform. So work authorization system, if existing in your organization, this could be a great plus. This could benefit your organization, your projects, because the same work authorization system will be inherited by the projects. Then is the resource availability, like your contractors and purchasing constraints, that you cannot buy things from certain people, certain international contacts, are there are other restrictions. Approved providers and subcontractors, you have got a list of contractors only you can buy from them, or you have got any collaboration agreement like we had with China for making JF-17 and things like that. So if there is any collaboration with other companies for doing certain things, then naturally the resources can only be made available through that process. Similarly, the employee capability, um, you must understand the expertise of your people right now. How much skillful they are, what are their competencies, what are their specializations, and as if you can do the training need assessment and enhance their competencies and capabilities. Then we have got some of the enterprise environmental factors which are external to the organization, like marketplace conditions, social and cultural influences and issues, legal restrictions, commercial databases, academic research, government or industry standards, financial considerations, and physical environmental elements. So all of these you can see clearly that they are all external by nature. In marketplace conditions, you can have the competitors, you can have the market share, brand recognition, trademarks, or so many other things. Social and cultural influences and issues may have a specific kind of political climate which may not be feasible for the project. Codes of conduct. Actually, ethics and code of conduct. This is external. Previously, what we talked about was the ethics and code of conduct within the organization. Then, these are the code of conduct and ethics which have been forced on you from a larger body. Like, being a Muslim, my code of ethics and my code of conduct and ethics should be like this. And within my organization, naturally, my organization is existing in this country, and whatever are the ethics and code of conduct of the country, this will be governed by that. Moreover, organizations can have more stringent ethics or code of conduct as compared to the bigger one, which is applicable to us. So, in addition to the national level or Muslim code of conduct, you may be having some uh, organization-wide code of conduct as well. And then, how do people perceive things? What are the perceptions? Then we have the legal restrictions. Certain things banned in your country. Certain products are banned from import or export. Country or local laws and regulations related to security. Data protection could be one thing. Business conduct, employment, and procurement. So these all may have legal restrictions. Then are the commercial databases. These are the databases which are created by professional volunteer bodies, and they are for the betterment of the industry. For example, PMI is a volunteer professional body, and although we are not bound to agree with them and follow them, but they will create data. They will provide that data, they will publicize that data for all project managers to come, and they will have to benchmark their results according to that. Standardized cost estimation data, maybe commercial databases are suggesting to us the standard rates for estimation. Industry risk study information are risk databases. They all are different kinds of commercial databases. Then is the academic research. If there is a, normally is a trend now of case studies. So we create case studies from even within Pakistan. So these are the industry studies. Specific IBM or some industry is picked up, and we try to do some academic research and prove certain things. There could be publications, there could be the results of the benchmarking we have done or someone else has done. Government and industry standards, they may include the regulatory agency regulations and standards related to whatever you are producing. You are constructing a flying machine. That flying machine must be vetted by the CAA. You cannot fly any machine in the skies of Pakistan until and unless you have you have sought permission from certain security bodies. Production, environment, quality, and workmanship. These are all various regulatory agency regulations and standards. The seventh is the financial consideration. This is what you mentioned earlier about financial closure. So while we are starting the project, we must consider that from where the money is coming, what is the exchange rate today, what is the interest rate, what is inflation rate, what are the various tariffs you have to pay, and the geographical location. Physical environment includes the working conditions, what type of working conditions are provided to the people. Sometimes the working conditions are too bad. So even a very competent person may not be able to work in that work condition. So this has to be, physical environment has to be checked for that. Weather could be one of the things, and constraints, other constraints could be there. Then are the organizational process assets. As I said, these are the plans, processes, policies, procedures, and knowledge bases. And if I may say, these also include the standards, methodologies, models, templates. All of these things are included in the organizational process assets. These assets influence the management of the project. OPS include any artifacts, practice, or knowledge from any or all of the performing organizations involved in project that can be used to execute or govern the project. So, to put the long story short, organizational process assets uh, are all those written documentation which is available within the organization by the organization, and you are supposed to follow them. As I said, there are two parts to it. One is the process, policies, and procedures, and these are the read-only kind of reference section in which you can follow these things, but you can't change them. On the other hand, we have organizational knowledge bases being created, and this has become now a normal trend that every organization is trying to establish their own patterns. So organization knowledge base will enhance and improve from that. Processes, policies, and procedures are not updated as part of the project work. These are usually established by the PMO. Now, this is interesting. We have not studied PMO so far. But through this statement, we now can refer to PMOs. PMO is responsible for setting up these policies, procedures, etc. regarding the project management, right? So project management system must be designed after thorough study of international standards, frameworks, guidelines, and other documentation methodologies from different places, models from different places. They are supposed to study PMO, and they are supposed to tailor it according to the organization and give those policies and procedures which are to be adopted in our organization. And this you could be, as a project manager, you could be asked to follow. But the who is the creator, initiator, or custodian of these organization process assets is the PMO, the project management office, if it exists. If it does not exist in your organization, then you have to, somebody has to be responsible for this. Maybe the portfolio manager uh, gets a small little PMO established, and that is made responsible. Maybe at organizational level you have a PMO. Maybe at a departmental level you have a PMO. These can be updated only by following the appropriate organizational policies associated with updating processes, and policies and procedures. Those processes, policies, and procedures we can't change, but we can always recommend and suggest, and they can be revised by appropriate authority. But as far as I am concerned, I can't change the rules. I can only suggest the changes. Some organizations encourage the team to tailor templates, life cycles, and checklists for the project. So, if you have templates for different forms already created, then that will bring consistency to all the projects. If I don't do that, PMO doesn't do that, then ultimately what will happen is that everybody will be following their own template, their own format, their own way of working, their own procedure, and then the work of two teams is not going to be consistent in any way. Organizational knowledge base are updated throughout the project. While the project is going on, we still keep contributing to the organizational knowledge base, and some of the information is made available at the end of the project, and then it contributes to that organizational knowledge base. For example, information on financial performance, lessons learned, and performance metrics, etc. These are continually updated throughout the project. The organization's process and procedures for conducting project work include, but not limited to, in initiation and planning, the guidelines and criteria should be there for and duly tailored. The organization's set of standards, processes, and procedures to satisfy the specific need of the project. In initiation and planning, then specific organizational standards such as policies like the organizational HR policy, our resource policy, our health or safety policy, security or confidentiality policy, quality policy, not necessarily related to project, but any kind of policy which may impact the project. Those like things are, you know, these are we have established as the rules. Initiating and planning, we also have the product and project life cycle, and if you can standardize that, and sometimes it can be, an organization which is doing similar kind of work. Maybe you are a web development company, so you are always developing the web, and developing the web can be classified into a specific uh, project life cycle. That all the web development assignments will be dealt in this procedure. This is the procedure to do that. So we will follow that procedure in that case. There could be templates for each and every document, like charter, project charter. We could have a format for project charter. This is the responsibility of organization, or for that matter, the PMO, to establish these documents and their formats and everything exactly according to the need of the organization. Pre-approved supplier list and various types of contractual agreements. This could also be input to you, and based on this, you can establish the contracts with the contractors. and you can decide on the type of contract you should go into. Do you want to go for a fixed price contract, or a cost reimbursable one, or a time and material? In executing monitoring and control, change control procedures become very important, including the steps by which performing organization standard policies, procedures, or any project documents will be modified for how any changes will be approved and validated. Traceability matrices. Traceability, I think I have a diagram later. I'll show you later, but you can have a kind of traceability through reporting the thing at the right time. Financial control is about the information should be correct and latest. Issues. Issues are what? When a risk occurs, whether it was known or unknown, when it occurs, it becomes an issue. And naturally, we need to manage issues. And when there is a defect caught by quality control, then this defect, how the defects are to be managed, there should be a procedure for that. Like defining issues and defect controls, identifying and resolving issues and defects, and tracking action items. Resource availability control and assignment management. Then is the organizational communication requirements. What is the specific communication technology are you using? What is authorized communication media? Maybe you do not have other means available in when you are working on a oil rig. Maybe even the signals are not there, so you may have to use the satellite phone. Record retention policy, how long a specific record is to be maintained in the organization, because that could be a heavy load. So we somehow must be able to understand the data retention policy. How long will I keep this data, and if this data is no more required, this is kind of destroyed. Video conferencing, actually we can see the people in the video conference and we can make better communication decisions. Collaborative tools are there, security requirements are there, and as far as templates are concerned, there could be a template for charter, there could be a template for risk register, but all kinds of issue log, lesson learned log, risk log, all that. Ninth is the standardized guidelines, work instructions, proposal evaluation criteria, and performance measurement criteria, etc. And ultimately the product service result, duly verified and validated. This is the output. In closing, we need to the final project audits are conducted, project evaluations are carried out, deliverable acceptance is done, contract blue year, if there were work contracts in it, then those must be closed. Next, resource management and knowledge transfer to production and our operations. Right. Okay. Organizational knowledge repositories for storing and retrieving information include but not limited to. Now let us see what it is. What is configuration management? What is your opinion about what is configuration management?
For me, configuration management from my own field is something because we work on the network itself. So we have a process of changing some of the configuration of the network itself, which is very much part of our scope. So for me, that clicks the button for me. But over here, similar.
Yes.
I think here maybe as I read the documentation, it mentions that It is about changing a certain documentation based on, certain policy, certain procedure, certain documentation about the project itself.
Good. Okay. You are not wrong. Even what you were mentioning earlier. Basically,
Right?
we look at it from a computer point of view, software point of view, that a
Yes.
certain configuration has been installed. But when you configure your system, isn't there a default configuration which you can revert back to?
Yes.
So that means whatever configuration you did was customized, was as per the
Yes.
requirement of the day.
Exactly.
But it could be configured in many other ways.
Yes.
So all those different ways in which the things can be configured, um, who is keeping track of that?
For the network itself, the system itself, it tracks all the logs, it maintains all the logs, you can export the configuration, so you will have the new configuration in front of you. But from the project point of view, I believe it is part of the responsibility of the project itself to document all the changes and update them.
Exactly, that is the point. That is the point. So from your network point of view, the network came with a default configuration. You are supposed to put the
Yes.
things together in that way, and then you tailor them according to the requirement and come up with another configuration. And then
Yes.
maybe after some time, few more changes are made, and you come up with yet another configuration. And there is a record kept of all these changes, all these configurations somewhere in data. This is
Yes.
exactly the right definition. Exactly the same thing happens in projects. Projects are like systems, and computers are also like systems.
Yep.
So, if I'm doing the project management, I am actually going through a lot many things. I have systems, I have processes, I have tasks, I have lot many things. I will be creating a lot many documentation, a lot many procedures, a lot many plans, and do all those things and deliverables also. All those things um, will be going through a lot many configurations due to progressive elaboration. Because of the unclear scope of the project, as the scope becomes clear, I will keep correcting the configuration, keep improving it through change request. So, change management plan is one thing. Change management plan just tells me to how to move a change request, how to get it processed, and how to get it approved. Once the change request is approved, how to update the relevant documents. This all is taught to me in in the change management plan. But there is a bigger plan than change management plan, that is the configuration management plan. And configuration management plan is keeping track of all the versions of documents, of deliverables, everything which I am doing. I am keeping all the previous versions together into a cabinet or a computer archive. Maybe if your system is totally archived, totally digitized, then probably the configuration management of project is also being done on computer, as in the case of network. But keeping the record of all the previous configurations. Like you see, I have this deliverable produced, it was faulty. This is my version 1. I am told that it is a defective item, make a new one. I come back with a new one, that is my version 2. Then I am told there is still a mistake, go back and correct it. I come up with version 3. So all of these three versions I must have in store for me. I must know the history of this product. How was it created? What faults did I commit? Because these are the lessons learned which I am going to be using in future projects. So configuration management knowledge repositories containing the versions of software or hardware. Baselines are, what are the baselines? Baselines are the final approved versions of scope and time and cost. Final approved version. Before reaching that final version, it was up to you to make any changes to it. When you determined the scope, you relaxed, you gave some time to it, and you evolved it, and this is how the things will be executed. Once that is done, immediately you should get it approved from your boss. This is called the baseline. When a plan is approved by the boss, it is baseline because now you are not owner of the document. Owner of the document is now your boss. And without his permission, you cannot bring any changes to this document. Therefore, you have to move a change request if it is required to change that document. So not without a permission. And all these changes you are going through, a record must be kept of that. And that is configuration management. Got it?
Right.
Then are the financial data repositories. This contain information such as labor hours, incurred costs, budget. This is also kind of a data which has to be kept. Um, it is not only the raw data, this is analyzed, processed data. So these data repositories, maybe databases, are housed in a computer maybe, and you extract the relevant data and run your queries and ultimately seek your results. Historical information and lessons learned. This is also part of organization knowledge repositories. Um, like project records and documents, all the project records are kept in historical information. They are not only to be used by the same project, but all future projects will get precedence or help out of it. All project closure information and documentation. Information regarding both the results of previous project selection decisions and previous project performance information. And information for risk management activities. So historical data is going to provide me a lot of data, a lot of information. Similarly, issue and defect management data repositories will keep a record of all the issues and defects. The data repositories for metrics used to collect and make available measurement data on processes and products. That repository is also existing. I can use that data when required. Then are the project files. When I complete a project, finish a project, then all the documentation of that project are submitted to the organization into their whatever archival system they have. So whenever a new project is started, I can always go back and search and sift through those files and get a lot of help out of them. Maybe I can find a ready-made portion of plan which I can inherit from a previous experience. Then we have the project calendars established, project schedule network developed, risk registers, risk reports, and all that, stakeholder register, etc. All of these documents could be created. These are the project files. Now coming over to the organizational system. Projects operate within the constraints imposed by the organization through their structure and governance framework. Organization. How is the organization structured? Number one, but who reports to whom, and how deeply hierarchical your structure is, and naturally, whatever we do in that organization, that structure must be appropriate for that. If that structure is not appropriate for, say, operations, then this structure doesn't work. We need to tailor the structure according to the needs of the project, or for that matter, not project but operations. So this is the structure. But naturally, I'll talk about the structure, but naturally we understand that each structure we talk about uh, uh, is appropriate for a specific scenario. A structure which is suitable for operations may not be suitable for projects because projects may have different demands. A structure which is suitable for projects may not be suitable for operations. So we must understand what kind of structure is there, and is it suitable and viable to run the projects in this organizational structure. And moreover, what is your governance framework? What are the laws and regulations you have established within the organization to work? So this is the general guideline from the higher ups, that this is the minimum parameters all people in this organization need to meet. Naturally, this governance framework has to be applied to everyone in project or program or operations. And to operate effectively and efficiently, the project manager needs to understand where responsibility, accountability, and authority reside within the organization. This is also, again, a very important point, that our organizations, in our organizations, we do not differentiate between the responsibility, accountability, and authority. Remember, the person who has been made responsible for day-to-day operations of the work, he is the person who is responsible. The person who is assigning this job to the project manager, like the project sponsor, he has the authority. And as far as accountability is concerned, the major part of accountability is held by the sponsor. Project manager cannot take the load of that much accountability. You see, if project manager gets involved into the you know day-to-day working, he cannot perform. So to perform, we have isolated him, given him the responsibility, and administrative details and all that project sponsor is handling by himself. Coordinating with the top executives and all that, attending meetings with them. But project manager has been made responsible, and he is available on ground for resolving this problem. This understanding will help the project manager effectively use his or her power, influence, competence, leadership, and political capabilities to successfully complete the project. So if you want the project to be done effectively and efficiently, then probably you have to understand all of these various influences. The interaction of multiple factors within an individual organization creates a unique system that impacts the project operating in that system. Resulting organizational system determines the power, influence, interest, competence, and political capabilities. This is the same dialogue which we have already talked about. So this is the organizational system. How is it made of? It is made up of naturally processes, and there are inputs and outputs. But this organizational system is the way the organization works. Similarly, like this organizational system, which is true for the whole organization, I am supposed to, PMO is supposed to develop a project management system for all the projects in the organization, how the project management system will work. Just like organizational system is working for the organization, project management system is going to be true for all the projects undergoing. The system factors include but are not limited to management elements, governance framework, and organizational structure types. So there are three things. First, we discuss the management elements. Then we discuss the governance frameworks, and then the organizational structure types. The complete information and explanation of the organizational system factors and how the combination of these factors impact a project are beyond the scope of this guide, because then probably we are talking about the operations more than project management. Just in these first two chapters, you see, we are talking beyond project. Just to understand the context in which the project exists. Projects exist within the organization. Project can be part of a program or portfolio or whatever. So this is the knowledge which we are using. There are disciplines with associated literature, methodologies and practices that address these factors in more depth than is possible within this guide. This section provides an overview of these factors and their interrelationships. And what does the overview begin with? It begins with a discussion in general, what is a system, what is a component, and what is their interaction. System is naturally a collection of components put together in a certain order as if they can produce certain kind of results. A component is an identifiable element within the project or organization that provides a particular function or group of related functions. Then is the interaction. Interaction of various system components creates the organizational culture and capabilities. Now you understand how organizational culture and capability come into being. The interaction of various system components create the organizational culture and capabilities. There are several principles regarding systems. Systems are dynamic. Systems keep changing. Systems can be optimized. System always have a room for improvement. System components can be optimized. Not only the system, but its lower level components can also be optimized. The efficiency and effectiveness can be enhanced and increased, and ultimately that will impact on the system itself. Systems and their components cannot be optimized at the same time. Either you start working from top to bottom or bottom to top. You can't be optimizing the main head as well as the lower parts of it. So if you're working on lower parts, then main head should not be considered, and whatever the results are, they are translated upwards. Systems are non-linear in responsiveness. Change in the input does not produce a predictable change in the output. If inputs change, will the output will also change? If not, then this is but natural. Multiple changes can occur within the system and between the system and its environment. When these changes take place, adaptive behavior occurs within the components that in turn add to the system's dynamics. Systems dynamics are defined by the interaction between the components based on the relationship and dependencies that exist between the components. Then we have the systems, as we said, typically the responsibility of an organization's management. Uh, this is on the system. Organizations management examines optimization trade-off. What is more important for the organization between the components and the system in order to take the appropriate action to achieve the best outcome. The result of this examination will impact the project under consideration. It is important that project manager take these results into account when determining how to fulfill the project objectives. Project manager should take into account the organization's governance framework, and that is important because governance framework is, the overall big guideline. And the systems exist within the framework, and the framework is the law. Recent PMI research reveals that governance refers to organizational or structural arrangements at all levels of an organization designed to determine and influence the behavior of the organization's members. This research suggests that the concept of governance is multidimensional. It includes consideration of people, roles, structures, policies, etc., whereas it requires providing direction and oversight through data or feedback. Right. Let me see. I think we should have a little bit break of about half an hour because I need to do something. So we can
Sure, that's fine for me.
meet after half an hour.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be back at 1:45.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.